Good morning, everybody. And I just want to say a few words because I had the great privilege of visiting Christel House about 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And I had been told by my cousin, actually, who was, I think, chair of your board, your governance for a while, what an extraordinary job that it did. But it was not until I actually visited the school and met you guys and talk to some of the students and realize that you do something very, very special. And that's what I just wanted to impart this morning, that I met people, kids who were coming from drug-infested, difficult, broken backgrounds where the parents were not that interested in their education, certainly not supportive. The idea that you've got a room to work in order to do your homework, an iPad to actually work with. None of those things operate in households like this. And yet Christel manages to turn those kids, find their bright sparks and turns them into students who achieve great things in the future and get into jobs, which is, I think, one of your key, as I recall, one of your key messages and key branding successes is that you don't just educate children who need educating, but give them opportunities, because in the end, this is all about work opportunities, being able to contribute to make a life for yourself and any family that follows, but also to contribute to the country. Because unless people work and unless people are creating energy and growth, then the country can't succeed. And we all know what problems there are. And yet, what great opportunities. What I also notice when I go back to South Africa, not often enough, but when I do, which is relatively frequently, I notice an enormous energy in the place. Yes, there's a lot wrong. John and I were just talking about the water problems in Johannesburg, especially following on the power cuts, which seem to more or less be mitigated, if not fully dealt with. But the water problem's serious. So there's a lot of problems, but there's also an incredible amount of energy and dynamism. And I just end by saying this. I teach at Pretoria University's business school, Gibbs, founded by Nick Binadell's a very good friend and friend of John Masterpiece as well. And I'm just amazed at the incredible people there are there, students, the MBA students. These are people mostly who are there part-time, doing jobs, looking after their domestic lives and doing an MBA. And they're incredibly bright. 2/3 are black. The rest are the mixture of other races. The minority are white. But there's energy in those classrooms. There's ability in those classrooms. And you're not going to get the people of the future into those classrooms doing MBAs unless Christel is supported to do the work that it does, and transforming hopes into realities, and transforming depressed, forgotten, rejected lives into ones that have opportunity that they can make something of. So thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for coming this morning. And you can't be supporting a better project. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Peter.
Morning, everyone. It's an absolute honor to be here, and thank you for having me. I was given only 10 minutes, so I said to Franz, when I talk too much, then just move the slide along. I must just give a quick caveat. Unfortunately, my glasses melted in the sauna on Saturday. I swear, that's what happened. So I'm wearing my office glasses. So you guys out there are nothing but a blur, but my heart is in the whole place. So thank you, Lord Hayne, for the wonderful introduction. I think you probably said more than I could have. And in the conversation with everybody here, I kept on thinking, I've got to add this and I've got to add that. So it's such a dynamic organization that we work with, and to be able to work in education in South Africa, I think is an enormous privilege, because the energy that you see, and some of that I picked up in the room, you can't squeeze a lot of South Africa out of South Africans. There's tremendous energy. We do a particular project in Khayelitsha at the moment with unemployed adult youth, a little bit separate to Christel House, and the amount of intellectual grappling and entrepreneurship and let's make it work is absolutely phenomenal. So whilst there isn't water in Johannesburg, and there isn't, there's really, really a lot to look forward to. So just to get started, I thought that the first thing we'll do, and I'm not going to really dwell on this, this is what we're all going to just to look at the negative stats, the toxic stats, the moans and the complaints. So I'm not going to dwell on it in the first 2 or 3 slides, I think deals with that. I just want to quickly go through this. 55% of the population lives in poverty. These are very conservative stats. It's actually a lot worse because of census problems, etc., etc. 61% of youth are unemployed. That is really closer to 70 to 75 if you look at the expanded definition of unemployment, which basically means everyone. You're young, and unless you come from privilege, you're poor and you're unemployed. That is a ticking time bomb. And it's there that education plays a part. One of the most unequal countries in the world, the stats actually say that we are the most unequal country in the world with a Gini index of 0.63, that it has been forever. This slide is a long story that essentially says of every 100 children that go to school, about half of them get to matric and 37 of them get matric. Then only a fraction goes to university and a fraction of those people actually graduate. So 4 people complete a degree in the maximum time. 2 people complete a degree in the minimum time. So you can look at the resource wastage. It's a little bit like Joburg's water. 90% of that problem is just broken pipes, not a lack of water. So we have a massive broken pipe here from 100 people to 6. And there's a fraction more. You can sort of get that number to about 12 if you add the people who go to TVET colleges and learnerships, etc., etc. But the drain on education is absolutely massive. And the biggest problem really sits getting people through school and then supporting them thereafter. And it is in that space that Christel House started. So we have been in South Africa for over 20 years, 25 in the world. We've got 9 schools in the world in 5 countries, only 1 in South Africa, which is why we're here today to talk about that. But it's worth just reading what it says here: to prepare graduates to achieve upward economic mobility, be good citizens, and essentially have the agency to do that work. And the upward economic mobility, as Peter had said, really speaks to that. Whatever charity you ever look at, and whoever does whatever they do in education, always there's only one question to ask, and that is, where does that lead to when the person is an adult in the world? Otherwise, your after-school classes or your feeding programs or your whatever has not done the job unless we can get a significant number of adults having upward economic mobility, be good people, actually, and an agency is a big piece of Christel House to say, do you have what it takes? So Christel House works very specifically in very poor communities. The big endowment that funds our administrative costs, so that donations go to the kids that we help, not the administrative piece. That endowment is very specifically focused on poverty. So every single one of our children survive on less than 1,500 rand per month. Now you turn that into pounds and you go on Friday night to say, let me get a couple of beers before I get home, and that money is finished. It is, in fact, last night we each had a little bowl of food. That was 1,500. So that is unbelievable. So all our children come from extreme poverty. With poverty comes a whole lot of social dysfunction and trauma. So we deal with trauma. There's food insecurity. There's a lot of social ills, a lot of gangsterism, a lot of drugs. It's not unusual for me to receive a little WhatsApp in the morning of a kid who forwarded it to somebody to me, or somebody that got shot. Oh, look at Uncle so-and-so, he's bleeding. No, it's Uncle so-and-so that's bleeding. That absolute desensitization of what it means to live in such difficult circumstances. And that trauma then gets brought into the classroom. And that is not unusual. And that is where we're working into. So that's our school in South Africa. I think this is a 2-minute video on what we do, so I don't have to speak too long.
My name is Maizoli, and I come from Langa. a community in Cape Town that faces many struggles. I am a grade 4 student at Christel House, South Africa, a non-profit school that provides students like me with education and everything I need to succeed.
Ukhumbule mntanam, ubomi bakho, ilayithi yakho nekamva lakho lilo eliza kwenza ube nendlela erayithi eqhakazileyo.
My school makes sure I get to school and back every day, and I enjoy seeing our friendly bus driver and my friends in the morning. The first thing we do when we get to school is eat breakfast. We get 2 healthy meals and a snack every day. When nighttime is full, I am ready for the day. My first class for today is coding. Mr. Adam teaches us coding at our school where I have my own tablet and I can use the internet. I don't have any of these at home. We get all of these things because of our friends who support our school. They help me, my family, and my community. I have everything I need at school. I want to be an engineer, and my teacher always says, if I work hard and have urgency and support, I can become anything I want to. Christel House is more than just a school. It helps children like myself and my friends find our passion and secure a job that will create a better life for ourselves and our families one day. Our career department helps us to imagine a life we could never have dreamed of before Christel House. When you support Christel House South Africa, you're not just helping me, but you're helping my family and transforming an entire community.
So that, I think, captures the spirit of it all. But the key piece, and when we talk about education, which we feel really strongly about, is what is the difference? There's so many schools, so why do some schools make it and some not? And the philosophy for us, given again that we're about upward economic mobility, who will this adult be in the world? The philosophy very first speaks about enablement. Education is a moot topic. It doesn't actually matter what the curriculum is and whether the teacher is or isn't qualified unless it is enabled. And that is the key piece that we've got. Literally, just think about a piece of land. Once you've tilled the soils and you've got the soil and you've got compost, you can plant your seed. If you cannot plant a seed where it can grow, it doesn't matter whether you've got a classroom and textbooks and teachers, because it can't, that seed can't grow. So the very first thing we do is we transport our children to school. So we've got 23 buses, some of them, most of them outsourced to community entrepreneurs, and they travel our kids to and from school. So now at least you're there, right? You've got a chance. It's a little bit of enablement. Then they walk straight into our canteen. Our children get a breakfast and lunch and 2 snacks every day. And the obvious reasons of food insecurity. Often that's the only food they get per day. Then they go into the classroom. And you think, well, now we're ready to go. They're here, they've got school uniforms and satchels and books and everything. And then their tummies are full and off they go into the classroom. And now you have a trauma-informed space. Every single one of those children come with a story. So they will do the very obvious things. There will be signs outside the door. Do you want a high five today? Do you want to be left alone? Do you want a hug? And that is a way for our teachers to, and they do various things in different ways, not always, but that's a way for the teachers to gauge where the children are. Our classrooms are then not, the rows and columns that one is used to do, but it's sort of an energy zone. So you can be a person who loves working on your own. That's who you are. All good. You love working in a group, you're a teamwork guy, and you have trauma, you want to go and sit in the quiet corner and play with a fluffy toy, and that's okay too. So our classes aren't bigger than 30, and we have a teaching assistant in every class, and that's really important. Because if a kid, normally in the big schools where there's a problem, you teach to the lowest common denominator, right? And if there's any noise, we'll start again. We keep it at the highest common denominator, and our tutors lift up. We also corrected the learning loss after COVID in exactly that way. We absolutely flooded the classrooms with tutors, and we said, we're continuing, right? And everybody got lifted off where they got left behind. So that's absolutely important. And then if the trauma as such becomes a problem, We also have 2 nurses, 2 social workers, and 2 counselors. So your issue could be a physical issue, like I'm struggling to see you guys at the back with brown glasses, right? So if you're a teacher, I'm going to get bored and I'm going to act up. Then people think I'm ADHD. I'm not. I just can't see. We do hearing tests. We've got full nursing services, height, weight, immunization, sexual reproduction, and all of that. Then it could be a problem for the counselor. I have a problem. I'm being bullied. I don't have friends. Whatever. Anyway, those sort of things. We do restorative circles, or we refer to home. There's dysfunction in the home. There could be violence in the home. There could be neglect. I can go on about that, but neglect doesn't mean there's no love, right? So people often confuse that, but I love neglect. So those things we look at, and we do home visits, and we bring that back, and we bring that back into the classroom. And so if you look at whether it's a personal problem, a social problem, an academic problem, or a problem of trauma, we triangulate that in something we call MTSS, multi-tiered support system. And that we do for 19 years. And that is a key piece of our model, that there's longitudinal support. So very often people do a lot of investment into ECD, but if that support doesn't continue for a child, it does peter out. So we take our children in at the age of 4 at ECD, right through junior school, through high school, and then we help them get into college and careers. So 95% of our kids, when they leave school, are either employed or they study. And we work with that in a mentorship and coaching support program to get them through university. In the office, we kind of speak of get them in, get them through, get them out at this level with support and bursaries, and then into employment. And the measure of success is economic mobility. Currently, that statistic for us sits at 75%. That we're very, very proud of. 75%. So we'll get a little bit back. We should just flip over to the stats. So 94% of our alumni is in educational training. Our goal is 95. Sometimes we're under, sometimes we're over. I think it's on 97 at the moment. Everybody passes. It's 99% because some years ago somebody failed, so now it can't be 100. But it's 100% pass rate. And this is the particular stat we're proud of, that 89%, that looks a little bit low, but that was hot last year. Yeah. Normally it sits on about 82% of our graduates have a bachelor's pass. So that's the old matric exemption with all the South Africans in the room. So that means that you can go to university. That is, well, that's difficult enough to achieve, but the pass rates are very low. Every time there's not enough people passing, we lower the pass rate. But that is the one that doesn't change. And that is the indicator of upward economic mobility because of the quality of the pass that you can get to. Those guys you all saw in the movie, this is where people really, really become the fullness of the humans that they want to be. And I must just quickly say that Christel House doesn't select for talent. This is not a talent hunting institution at all. This is an institution that gives an opportunity to a 4-year-old who's poor, no matter who you are. Out of that, some people become the doctors and the dentists and the blah, blah, blahs. But some people just get a job and they just, but what you want is that level of stability and that level to hold yourself in the ball. She's going to take one slide back. And this is for the various enablers that I've spoken about. The piece I haven't spoken about and won't now is that we also have a very extended parent program to manage the homeschool mix. You can't do stuff at home, at school, and then what happens at home. So we work very, very, very hard with our parents in a value-based, character-based approach. So when we look at character, who you are in the world, and we look at where you are going, we've covered most of the bases. So for this, I think it's 2 on now, just to get to where we really are. So that South Africa is not the only story. We've got in 5 countries, we've got 9 schools. As you can see here, we've got a school in Jamaica that's very new. Our oldest school is in Mexico. We've got some charter schools in the States, ourselves here, and then 2 schools in India. And the moral imperative is we've been 25 years going, our stats are phenomenal. Something is going right. There is a moral imperative to say we have to do more. How can we build more schools without being too wide and too shallow? This is not an organization that says we build 200 schools in 6 months. 312 countries, right? We're not that school. We speak of ourselves as an inch wide and a mile deep. Whoever you take, you see through, and you do an intense healing and education into adulthood. So this is where we are at the moment. We serve 20,000 people globally, and we're ready to replicate, and we're ready to expand. And this is the South African vision. It's extremely ambitious, and I'm not sure who did that. It had to be me, I guess. But you got to start somewhere. At least you have to have a dream to shoot for. The one is in January 2025, and this isn't a dream. This is reality. We're going to open another high school on our current premises. On our current premises for a number of reasons. A, we've got the land, and I believe Helen Ziller is coming tonight, and you can thank her from us because she brokered the deal with our founder, Christel House, 20 years ago. 15 years ago, because we're just over 10 years in the premises and we've got 30 years to go still. So we're on City of Cape Town land, and it's a huge property. So we've got the land. Then zoning is sorted, costing is sorted. We've got vested capital sorted. We've got economies of scale sorted. We've got and economies of skill. So all of that is in place. We went to our ward and we're doing it. The architectural plans are done. Approvals will be imminent. We've recruited our students. We're a high school, and we've recruited our teachers. I just want to quickly pause by saying it is a high school. Our model is double R to 12. We're building a high school because the government asked us to, because of apartheid, there are 4 junior schools for every high school, still 30 years into democracy. So rather than saying, well, this is our model, then let's rather do what the country really wants, and that is high school seats. So we're building that right here, right now, as the WCED has asked us, and we're on track. We literally have a board meeting in the next couple of weeks, and we're opening on the 13th of January. Then by Jan 2027, we want a full school somewhere in the Western Cape, so that the economy of skill and scale is sort of a stone's throw away and not too far. And then by Jan 2029, we're hoping to add a 3rd school. And that school, we think, will be probably funded by somebody who would want naming rights. So the Google School in Polokwane, something like that. So something like that. But this will be our school that we're looking for partners, land partners, architect, quantity type partners, building partners, and of course the WCED. And so this is kind of what it's going to look. Well, it's not kind of what it's going to look like. This is the model that we built. So this is our current school over here. And then we're turning this on in the next couple of weeks. As I said, we were going to turn it on the 13th of November, and Minister Mania is not available, so we'll wait for him. And then we're going to turn it probably early December. But the building is started. We've got some temporary facilities for our grade 8. So every year we'll take grade 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s. To get our high school, and while that is up and running, we will then build a new school in 2027. The 2027 school, well, we'll have 2 schools here in the Western Cape. We don't know where the other school will be. It will be where the partner will be. So if it wants to be the Anglo School in, I don't know, forget the name. It might be there. So we could go, the Free State at the moment, interestingly, education-wise, is unbelievable. Lots of interesting stuff happening there. Our team is an obvious one. And then weirdly, I think weirdly, or counterintuitively, Limpopo as well. There's some incredibly good education cultures in these provinces. So there. We'll have to see. Yeah, and that is just, very, very busy pie charts, essentially just saying, how will we put this together? We've got a little bit of support from the Western Cape Education Department. Then we have support from our founders. So Christel House has got a foundation called the Inner Success Foundation, and that entity pays our administrative costs so that the schools can be funded, and doesn't cost donor funding. So that is funded, and they are willing to put some capital, a good piece of capital, to be a piece of the pie. And then we want operational capital and bricks and mortar piece. So if we chunk it out, we have a land partner, we've got a cash partner, we've got the WCED, we've got Endless Success Foundation from Christel House. We can piece it together into a solution that can give us a school. That piece I've already said.
That is arranged, right?
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.